Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and in this video I want to cover some details about the activity called Override. Now this is the new 6-player match made activity. It's not overly difficult, but there are a couple of nuances to make sure you are trying to help out your party as much as possible, to make sure you're efficient as much as possible, and also when it comes to some of the triumphs and things that you're trying to accomplish this season, they're actually kind of helping out everybody as much as you can. So, couple things. You need to defeat champions in Override, so it's not a bad idea to make sure you pay attention to what the modifiers are. You need to bank data spikes as a fire team, so that's a team effort overall, so nice thing to knock that one out. Bank data moats in Override, so we are going to be collecting moats in this one, similar to a Gambit situation. Completing the Override mission in under 12 minutes. Now, it hasn't been overly difficult to do this one for me. I've seemed to had decent luck, but also in the early part of the season, this is something that I think more of the hardcore people will be jumping into and playing frequently. But I think most of the time, 12 minutes isn't out of the question as long as you have an idea what's going on. Other than that, defeat all the Override bosses. Looks like we're going to have 3, and we have this on 3 locations. So this week we've got Europa to start off. Next week on, what is that going to be? On the 18th, we're going to be on the Moon. And then on the 3rd week, we're going to be on the Tangled Shore. So if you do want to knock this triumph out early, make sure you log in on week 1, week 2, and week 3 to do at least one Override run and make sure you beat each boss. Finally, for safe mode, you've got complete Override missions without dying. Now, this can be a little harder depending on if you are proceeding through the jumping puzzle, if you want to let somebody pull you. There are different ways to kind of work with this one. And other than that, that's some of the main activity pieces that you're going to have with regards to Override. Now, what is Override? Well, as I said, Override is going to be a 6-person match-made activity. So you can jump in by yourself with a group of up to 6. And the first location is going to be Europa. Similar situation is going to happen when we go to the other planets. The planetary surface is going to be kind of the starting point. And then once you open the Vex Network and everybody jumps inside, you will be inside the Vex Network going through a little bit of platforming and kind of a quick jumping puzzle. It's like, pretty fast. And then you'll be in kind of the boss fight arena, and depending on, I guess, if they change the boss fight arena for the other bosses, we'll see how that goes. But generally, that's the main idea. Start on a planetary surface, open the network with the waves that I'll kind of explain, and then when you go inside, little bit of platforming and jumping, and then at the end, you'll have typically some boss arena, multiple phase boss fight, something like that is what it seems so far. So let's jump into the Override, and I'm going to explain a couple things as we go through, just so you guys are aware of kind of where everything's at. Before we go in, though, there are a couple of upgrades that I kind of want to mention to you guys so you know what I'm referencing, and this is related to your Splicer Gauntlet. Now, I just put out a previous video over this one, if you guys haven't seen it yet, of the best upgrade path to the Splicer Gauntlet. Now, if you are grinding like crazy, you have a whole bunch of the currency that you're going to get at the end of this activity, then maybe, but quick reminder, do memory expansion 1 first, do override frequency 1, 2, and 3. Then you can increase memory expansion all the way through 3. Then you can do the ether filter. That's probably my main starting requirements for you guys if you're going to do the upgrades. But I want to explain what these other pieces are for. This is Code Strider. And again, this is probably going to get updated at some point when we actually have the unlocks that are currently corrupted, aka time gated. But for now, we can't get them all. But Code Strider basically allows you, when you get to the little platforming section, there's going to be additional platforms that you can turn on. You need to give them like 5 seconds to materialize because I've turned them on, jumped, and fallen straight through, which is not fun. But the only way you can do that is if you have this upgrade. Now, it's a cheap one. It's 100. And if you get to a point where you're, kind of in a good loop and you got 100 to spare, not a bad one to add on, because if somebody in the fire team activates it, it seems like everybody can use these platforms. So, taking one for the team here, not overly difficult. Now, here you've got deletion exclusion. This is like the second to last thing you should probably upgrade on this. So don't do it early, but I'm going to explain what it's for. Laser and wall defenses now deal less damage to you while inside the Vex network. Now deal moderately less. Now deal significantly less. So you have an upgrade of in the platforming section, and then maybe later on, some of the other bosses might have more stuff going on where this may be a more important thing. But right now in the first week, don't worry about this one unless you just grind like crazy and have a whole bunch of this stuff. You can unlock this stuff over time and you'll be okay. But the idea is laser and wall defenses, anything in that little platforming section should do significantly less damage to you once you get this unlocked. It is not required at all. If you're trying to go for the flawless runs, this may help you down the road. But still, overall, please don't upgrade this first. 1 memory, unlock the override frequency fully, then you can do the ether filter fully. After that, then you can mess around with like code strider, deletion, exclusion, and then this last one, halt and open fire. This is the last thing you should upgrade. You should probably even wait to do some of these low ones once we get these other ones, because they're probably still going to be better. All halt and open fire does, ammo replenished by the ammo crate, and I'll point it out, in override is slightly increased, and then is increased, moderately increased, and significantly increased. Basically, you're just going to get more ammo from the crate. You get the crate frequently, which is fine, but still, I've haven't even touched this yet. I don't think others have. You're killing so many enemies. Ammo is like everywhere. People are popping supers. There's orbs all over the place. You're really not worried about ammo. So this should be like the last thing you upgrade maybe halfway through the season once you know you've got everything done, because decrypted data is fairly hard to come by. Explain that in my other video. So if you're curious what I mean by that, I explain it over there. But just so you guys know, this is the ammo replenishment crate in override. That's what this one is in reference to. And then these are the laser wall defenses. So I just wanted to point those two out. Those are upgrades for your Splicer Gauntlet. Main thing is, don't buy those things for a while. Those are going to be your last upgrades. But make sure you grab some override bounties. If I've already done these daily ones, make sure you grab some of the repeatable ones. You may as well be doing something in there, because there's not a lot of bounties specifically, like Europa bounties especially, that are going to be helpful here. So make sure you pick up your override bounties before you jump in. So one thing to make note of before you jump into override is make note of the champions. You got overload, and barrier is what's going on this week. So, depending on what's going on with your artifacts, right now I've got overload hand cannon. Seems to be a little more reliable than some machine gun. Takes 3 shots and seems to be pretty easy. Anti-barrier auto rifle, anti-barrier scout. That is up to you. Everything does theme in fairly close proximity right now, so might do anti-barrier now. Later on, maybe scout if you're going for nightfalls or something like that. I still wish you could unlock all of them. Please, at some point, make that a possibility, Bungie. But for now, that's just a short little rant. Just make sure you have an option with regards to these. You don't need to have them equipped the whole time. If you want to be running a sniper rifle, or if you're enjoying, say, this new grenade launcher, for example, what I've actually got is, a couple options in each slot, and then I've just always got it equipped over here on my arms. So I've got anti-barrier and overload pretty much sitting there. So in each slot, I've got a hand cannon. Actually, I don't even have a hand cannon up here, but I have a hand cannon down here. I've got an auto rifle, which jumped out of my inventory. But I still at least I had my gnawing hunger down here. You could have a hand cannon up here, and you could have one of each. And if you're like, vibing on one weapon, you could swap this one over and be like, okay, so I got my auto rifle, I'm running salvager. Because there are different enemy types that are going to spawn in there. Vex typically are going to be the ones who want overload. Sometimes the champions start spawning, and you could literally jump into your inventory and switch over and be like, oh, it's an overload set. Okay, it's an anti-barrier set, and be like, okay, so I've got it covered. So you can jump around between these weapons. No loadouts are locked or anything of that nature. So just make sure you bring a couple different options with you, and then one of your weapons could be a bit more powerful, like a grenade launcher, and then the other one could handle the champions of that arena. So that pretty much covers the warm-up. Now let's go inside the activity, and I'll kind of give you guys some pointers inside the activity itself. But remember, check your champions. Enhanced radar, so you can take increased damage from melee, so try not to get bunched, stay far away. If you get smacked, you're probably going to die. And exploding units have more health. Not a ton of those, at least in this week, but doesn't mean it's not going to be a thing later on. So let's jump in, and I'll explain the bits and pieces of how this works. Alright, so when you load in, whatever planet it's going to be on, it's going to probably look something similar with all these little, polygonal, figures in here. A lot of squares, it seems like. You'll come up here, scan the network. Now, it says data required. This is where you're going to be placing the motes that you pick up. So let's go find some enemies. Got some guys back here. And you'll notice they're going to be dropping these pink motes. They look like motes. They're slightly different in shape. And as usual, there's a little bit of lag to the pickup. Some of the bigger enemies will sometimes drop too. But once you pick up a certain amount, your cap is 10, so pay attention. And remember, just like Gambit, if you die holding motes, you will lose them. So don't bank too many and, be in a tough spot. So you're going to slowly bank those up. And you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, it's going to say data motes deposited. We have a certain amount of time remaining. Once you get up to the third, we're going to go through this little, jumping puzzle situation. So for now, we're just going to run through. And what I'm going to do is jump ahead in time once we get to that actual next phase. And I'll explain the little jumping puzzle situation that we've got. And kind of show you guys a couple tricks just to make it a little faster. So gather your motes, dunk them in there. And remember, this is also your ammo crate. Pay attention if anybody pops it. It will refill multiple different types of ammo. But again, it's not really required. You're going to be killing lots of things. Once you get to that first third, as we're about there anyway, I'm probably not going to jump ahead in time too much. It's not too bad. But once people get enough ammo, you're going to see the first third happen. Things are going to go red. It's pretty obvious once people start dunking. All right, so once it goes red, now you have to clear all countermeasures. Countermeasures are the big yellow guys. You'll notice them, intrusion detection, and that's going to be a countermeasure enemy. Those guys have to get defeated to be able to move on to the next phase. They are big, they will smash the ground, they will launch you into the air just like anything else it normally does. So once those are dead, you're going to notice these little, like, things that look like little technological spots, and some of them will slowly turn red, and you'll have to wait for some of them to go through. On the first phase, I like to hang out on this little spot, because as soon as things spawn, you just need to get high enough up, and then hack the network. Things are going to stabilize, and then you're going to go on to the next phase. Now, another thing that you can do is go inside this Vex portal into the network and find a data cube. Once it opens up, it's basically a bigger chunk of motes that you can deposit at the same time. So you can hang out here, wait for more enemies to spawn, and then as soon as the network actually opens, which always seems to take a little while each round, you can run in there. So here's the back door to the Vex. And then once you jump inside, there is always a champion in here, and you're going to want to make sure you can kill said champion. So you are going to need your champion type rounds in here. So this guy's going to be Overload. So he's overloaded. Go ahead and take him out if I can. I am doing this by myself, it seems. So then there's the data cube. He's actually got it. I'm going to kill all of these guys, actually. Try and pick up all the motes. So you can still pick up motes in here, bring them back outside, and still be beneficial. But basically, once you kill the champion, it's going to drop a little data cube, and you can pick that one up just like a mote, but you'll just carry it and deposit it here in the center. And it's basically just worth a bigger chunk of data. Another thing to make note as you're going through, the motes themselves, while I can't deposit them while we're in this kind of like redded out phase, I can still hold on to them. They don't time gate, they don't go away. So as long as you don't die while you're trying to work on this phase of the intrusion detection, you can hold on to those motes and basically be ready to deposit them in the next section. So don't leave motes sitting on the ground. Always make sure you pick them up, hold on to them, and then just be ready to deposit them once you get to the next phase. Now again, once the little key codes pop up, you're trying to go for the little shots. You'll see usually about 3 or 4. And then once the third one gets shot, and once this thing grows, again, you'll be climbing. But this time, you're going a little farther. And once this one is done, you can go ahead and hack that, and you'll be on phase 3. The enemies do tend to get a little bit harder as you go through. A few more majors, beefier enemies, things of that nature. So if you are holding more and more motes in the latest section and you die, just be aware that there's a reason those guys are tougher, and you're kind of going a little more risk versus reward. So, gonna have some bigger guys. Obviously, you can see over here, you've got intrusion countermeasures now. So you're just trying to basically play it relatively safe, work with your teammates, try and take out the big guys, and really just try and take out as much as you can. And also just make sure you're picking up motes. I can't tell you how many guys I'm running around and seeing like motes just chilling out on the ground. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Make sure, please, that you pick up motes. So find whatever you're comfortable with. You know, at least have one special. Shotguns, grenade launchers all work fairly well. And then the third phase gets interesting. Remember, you can go into that portal once each phase for that data cube. If you kill the champion, that data cube will be there, and you just got to go ahead and kill it. So remember, it's all just about how many motes you kill, and it's just going to keep spawning guys until you get those motes deposited. Now, the reason I'm hanging up here is because I want to be actually as high as possible when this next phase goes. Now, I'm a little exposed up here to enemy fire, so if you are taking a lot of shots, you know, jump down. But the nice thing about being up high is when this thing actually like kind of solidifies in the middle, I've already jumped about halfway up, if not more, so I can just activate the Vex Network a little bit faster, and I'm also able to help my team get to that next phase quicker. So helping hit that button faster may seem like kind of stupid because everybody seems to race to the top, but it really actually does help speed this whole activity along if somebody's knocking that button just a little bit faster. So he's going to go down. Now you're going to have the buttons. So over here on the left, you got the red one. You got the one in the back, and then there's usually 3. So third one will turn. Got this one over here on the right. As soon as it solidifies, so apparently the last one has 4. Wherever it goes. Somebody want to shoot it? There it is. Now, once it solidifies, I'm going to go ahead and jump up here. So I'm nearly to the top now. because you got to go all the way to the top. Takes a little while. And again, time hasn't really been that much of an issue, but if you're working from the top and you're able to start the Vex Network thing quicker, then here we go. So this is phase 2. This is the Vex Network. This is your little platforming section that you're going to do. You're slowly going to fall down. And every one of these is going to look a little bit different. I've died plenty of times trying to struggle on these jumps, but I'm going to take this one a little bit slow because I want to show you guys the little button that you push to activate the bonus platforms that you can get. So it's over here on the right, and it's this little green button right here. So if you have the Code Strider, the perk for the Splicer Gauntlet, you can activate these little platforms. Give them about 5 seconds to make sure they're solid. And then you don't have to go through laser walls and platforms that might be disappearing. Just makes the traversal a little bit easier, especially if platforming is not your thing. You also see these things every so often. They're actually going to be like enemy tracking missiles. You'll see these laser walls. You definitely want to avoid those. They will basically kill you. But if you don't go fast enough, your allies are going to pull you. So you could literally hang out up at the top, and your allies are still going to pull you into here. So if you are worried about the platforming, trying to get those like 5 flawless runs that you need, then my advice, hang out at the top and let them pull you. Now, this guy is rare. The Network Anomaly. I'm actually really, really surprised I see him right here. The Network Anomaly is one of the, like, basically a rare spawn, and he's actually going to drop bonus decrypted data. Doesn't happen often. The only way you get decrypted data is actually by completing this thing, but he is actually going to drop you 25 decrypted data. I literally could not have scripted that better if I wanted to. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to have damage phases, enemies are on the outside, and the main boss will go up in the middle between those damage phases. So you're going to have, again, multiple enemies, couple champions that you've got to deal with, whether it be barrier. And then once the champions are down, you're going to have these 3 little locks, basically. Once those are broken, he will come out of the center, and he's going to do his thing. So if people are smart and running supers, big damage supers are always nice here. Things like that are really, really helpful. Anything with large damage, if you're a hunter, you can tether, and if somebody else is running that, it really works as well. So any big damage that you've got. Golden Gun's really good to pop a chunk of damage. Maybe it's hard to hit a crit, so just figure out what works for you. But again, once you get that third of damage down, you're going to be down here. You're going to have 2 champions. So this guy's a barrier, but I'm just kind of knocking him out. You're going to have a data cube. This is the same thing that you'd see if you're on the planetary surface and you go in the portal. Looks just like this. You would just run outside, but now I'm just inside the network, and this is something you need to actually deposit to make sure and help get everything going. After that, you're going to go ahead and bust out Boss Man one more time, and we'll finish him up. I was going to cut ahead, but basically ended up just doing a full uncut video here. The fact that the Network Anomaly was in this video, I've been running it half of the day trying to get him to show up, and he shows up when I'm recording, so, you know, hopefully this video works because I'm going to use it. Sweet. So when you are done, you're going to get 2 chests. One on the left-hand side is a standard Vex chest. Basic, could be a little bit of anything is in there. You're going to get a little planetary materials. This is the one you need key codes from your Splicer Gauntlet to be able to open these. And you'll notice I got a piece of seasonal gear, and I also got decrypted data. I got 55 decrypted data because I maxed out that override efficiency on the Splicer Gauntlet. The first time you jump in here, you're only going to be getting 30. So it's almost double if you upgrade this thing completely. So that is why when you upgrade the Splicer Gauntlet right here, override efficiency 3 is what gave me 55. So it starts at 30. Tier 1 is 35. Tier 2 is 45. Tier 3 is 55. So let's jump out of this activity, and then we will wrap it up. So as you guys can see, it was 9:28 there. Some of the guys may have left early, but again, nothing too coordinated or anything. Just some decent, powerful supers, bringing some powerful, heavy weapons and stuff for the boss, and just try and coordinate your attacks and make sure you're helpful when the champions are up. It's not fair to just leave that to other people. So that pretty much does cover Override. We're going to get 2 more planets in the future. So the moon will be next week, and then Tangled Shore will be after that. Planetary surface could look different. It's just going to occupy a certain location. You'll spawn near it. Same activity is going to happen. You got 3 phases. You got to like solidify the network. You got to make sure you're dunking your motes the whole time. If you want to be fast on the jumping puzzles, you know, it's going to just help your team just that little bit. But also make sure you've got that portal that's going to spawn. You can go into that portal. You can actually acquire that data cube from the champion. So you got to make sure you bring your champion style weapon in there. Bring that data cube out. It's a nice way to put a chunk of basically, it's like probably a full chunk of motes basically, but it's just by killing one. So take maybe you and one other person in there. You guys always make sure and satisfy that one, killing everything outside, and just make sure you res your buddies. If somebody's dead, res them. They're only going to help you make this thing go faster. So that is Override. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, remember, try and upgrade that Splicer Gauntlet override efficiency so you get more decrypted data, which is the whole reason you're doing this thing anyway. You'll get more seasonal gear, you get more decrypted data, which you're going to use for both upgrading the Splicer Gauntlet to its max, and you're also going to use that decrypted data to do any umbral engram focusing that you want to do, but do that later on. It's like double the price right now. It's kind of broken, so save that for later. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you've got any thoughts about basically anything I missed in Override. I think I covered most of what's in here. Should be fairly straightforward, but these are just some tips to help you be, a better teammate when you jump in here, especially if you're a solo player. Try and, help out where you see some people falling down. If you guys are new to the channel and you do want to support me, a nice way to do that is to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content and hit that alert bell, and you can select all videos if you want to see future videos from me coming into your YouTube feed. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Twitter, and it's just straight Ebontis over there. And I also do stream Destiny and a whole bunch of variety games over on twitch.tv/Ebontis. So follow me over there, and hopefully I can see you in chat. Thank you guys very much. Good luck out there. Have a good one.